Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. As a father, and if you're a mother of a single household, you fall into this as well. But primarily as a father, what kind of example are you setting for your wife and your kids if you call yourself a Christian or claim to be a Christian or have followed Christ in baptism? But are you setting the example they need to see what a Christian man looks like, lives like, and so forth? Today is Sunday, and hopefully your plans as a father and head of a household is to take your family to church this morning to show them what a man of God looks like and how he should lead his family on Sunday to God's house to worship. In Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, it says this: "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your might. These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and you shall talk of them when you sit in the house, and you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be on the frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." So, again, what kind of example, as you as the father, the head of the house, are setting for your wife and your children when it comes to Sunday morning and where you need to be at on Sunday morning? Are you off with your buddies going golfing or fishing or what have you? Or do you only go on the major holidays, Easter and Christmas, to God's house to worship? We as a father and head of a house, we have a huge role and a huge responsibility to teach our children and to show them what a Christian looks like, how a Christian lives. And that's a big task. It's a hard task. And it's not one that should be taken lightly, because that influence and affects our kids' lives well after they grow up and move out on their own. If you instill in them in these qualities of worshiping the Lord and going to his house on Sundays and that, they might, when they get out on their own, think they don't need it and leave for a while, but they'll come back. It might take a bit, but they'll come back. Something will happen, or something will trigger, or they'll just realize that there's something missing and they know what's missing in their lives, and they'll go back to God's house and all is not lost. But if you never take them and you never teach them and they become adults, it's very difficult to persuade them that on Sundays you go to God's house and sing praises to him and worship him. And that as a Christian, that's part of our job. That's part of our responsibilities, as I've said, in leading our family. We lead by example. So as you as a father, if you make sure your wife and kids go to church but you stay home, what does that say about your true feelings about God's house and our Savior? See what I mean? Our actions have a huge impact in our families and how they view and do things. Just think about that. Just think about that today. If you've not made plans to go to God's house, think about what I said. Think about this passage in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, starting in verse 4. It's especially the last. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. In other words, to me, that verse is saying our lives should reflect the love that we have for our Savior. And that's why I said we have such a huge impact on our kids, especially when it comes to our spiritual lives. How we as fathers fulfill that role, our sons will do the same. So as a father, if you're not fulfilling that role and taking your family to church on Sundays, don't expect your son, when they grow up, to do the same, not go, because they live by example. Now, like I said, you can do everything you're supposed to do, but once they become adults, it's on them. It's not like you didn't set the example. It's on them, and they can do as they choose. If they choose not to go, you can pray for them. That's all we can do, and try and get them to come back. But remember, as parents, we live and raise our kids by example. So what example are you setting for your kids today on this Sunday morning?